Oh, man. Okay. So today, I just wanted to continue our discussion, and I really wanted to talk more about your upcoming summary response essay. Right? That's due today. No, I was joking. No, not due today. Due Tuesday. All right. So, and I also wanted to show you guys an example of it, but I will just wrap up, some of what we talked about on Tuesday, right? And then, I'll let you guys have at it, for the weekend. All right. So, all this other stuff. Okay. So we're still in this week 2 module. All right. And there's also this this discussion post, right, that was that we talked about a little bit Tuesday. And if you missed out on Tuesday's session, here is the assignment itself. If you want it as a Word document, just click on it. All right, and here it is at the bottom, along with the article. There's a link to the website with the article, but there's also a Word version of the article. And then the one in the middle is the actual prompt for the assignment. So if you missed out on Tuesday's session, that's cool. We're actually about to just revisit some of that material. And really what I wanted to focus today's class on is this practice of summarizing and responding before you get started. Okay, unless somebody already got started, which is fine as well. Okay, if you want to really be proactive. All right. So if you missed out on Tuesday's class, the first thing you need to do is go over this assignment, right? So you understand what is being asked of you. Okay. And then also, that's cool. That's cool, Rachel, being proactive. All right. Just one thing I want to say about these assignments, and this is more like a mechanics thing or a logistics thing. Make sure when you upload an assignment, all right, I think I maybe said this Tuesday, but when you upload an assignment, don't upload it in pages. If you're a MacBook person or if you're using an iPad, don't do pages is the only thing that I can't really mess with. So and D2L doesn't, pages and D2L don't really get along either. So Word, Google Docs, PDFs are cool. I prefer Word, but if you don't have access to Word for whatever reason, I know if you have a Chromebook, Chromebooks, they don't allow you to, to put, other softwares on it that aren't Google products. So if you use Google Docs, that's cool. But Word is what I prefer. But PDFs or Google Docs are doing a bind. Just no pages. Okay, no pages. Not to discriminate against my Mac folks out there, but yeah, pages, no pages. Okay. All right. Now, let's go back into that week 2 module. Okay. And underneath the assignment, right, you see 2 items, right? One are these slides. One item is these slides that I'm about to open. Okay. And then I'm going to close some of all this other stuff. Okay, this is what I want to open. Okay. So you'll see 2 items. Okay, one of them is these slides. And you can either click on them and it'll open right up on it'll open right like within D2L. All right, but this takes forever to render for some reason. All right, you can just hit the drop down and then go download. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, let me all right. So yeah. Okay. Summary response essay. All right. And I'm sure in one way or another, we've all done this before. If you had me for comp 1, right, you've done at least one of these. All right. It's just we're going to do a couple more in this class. All right. So a summary response essay, it's just that, just what it sounds like. And a lot of this stuff we covered Tuesday, but I'm just going to reinforce it today about what a summary actually is and what a response actually is, and then I'll show you the example. The example is a real essay from a student. All right. So again, just to reiterate from Tuesday. All right. And man, it feels like deja vu, but I remember I just taught this material like this morning. All right. Just keep in mind that summaries, especially in a summary response essay where the goal is to make the summary and the response separate, but don't communicate your idea, or don't put your own independent ideas, in the summary aspect of this assignment. Okay, summary is just the facts, remember. Okay, just the facts, and I'll show you, what a real life looks like. All right. So a summary restates an author's words in your own words. Don't just copy paste. Don't overquote. When you're summarizing, quotes should be at a minimum. Okay. They offer readers a concise version of a longer reading. There's a lot to be said about concision. Now, your summary isn't going to be so short that it doesn't, highlight the author's key ideas, but in no way should it be, anywhere near the same length as the original. Okay, so don't and again, it's what I said on Tuesday. As you're reading, the article, it's really in your best interest to take some notes. And even if the annotations are just like pointing out the main idea, and then just, jot down things that, strike you in whatever way. Things that you're like, points you agree with, points you disagree with. You're looking at the evidence. Okay. You're looking at the reasoning. Okay. You're comparing to your own experiences, your own prior knowledge base. All right. So these are things, this is like the thought process as you're reading, but still when you're summarizing, it's just the facts. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Like, I can't stress that enough. Summaries are just the facts. Don't put what you feel. Don't put what you believe. Don't put what you think. Don't start discussing your own experiences while you're summarizing. Summaries, are just about the author's ideas. That's it. All right. Remember, all your thoughts and all your own points, that's going to come in your response. So don't combine for this assignment. Rachel's back. All right. Summaries show readers that you have understood the general ideas of a given text. So if you're just like quoting the article, that's not really a sign that you have understood it, right? Understanding is putting some material in your own words, okay? And then you have to understand something to have a response to it, okay? To evaluate it, right? To critique, to analyze, to respond, to react, right? You have to have an understanding of at least the basic concepts of what you just read. So I think a good way to gauge your understanding is if you're able to encapsulate the author's main ideas in your own words, okay? Or like, just imagine someone asking you, like, hey, what was that article about? Okay. If your answer starts off with basically, it's all bad. Like, what was the article about? Well, basically, nah, it's all bad. Don't go basically on your audience. Okay. Now, this is what I was just saying before, right? When you're getting ready to write a summary, okay? Skimming. Okay. Skimming is a valuable skill. Don't ever skim like in the place of doing an actual reading, but skimming a reading, if you have like a long reading from a textbook, our article is relatively short, but in the future, not necessarily in this class, because there isn't a huge reading component to this class, but in other classes, you may have, several chapters to read, over the course of a few days. And, some of the material you may encounter could be, kind of dense. So it's like, try to skim it and just get the main ideas, okay? You're still going to go back and read it, but skimming kind of gives you that preview, of what you're going to read. And it already starts these mental processes that you're going to go through, as you're actually reading. All right, so skim it, man, skim it. Okay, skim it. All right, then read it. Take notes. Okay, you can take notes, using digital means. Like if you look at this one, this is what your papers are going to look like when you get them back from me. Just kind of off topic, but I use these comments a lot on the side. But if you ever want to take notes, on a Microsoft Word document or something in Word, which your article is available in Word, you can just use, the comments. I have mine, set as my shortcuts, but if you want to find them, they're in the review tab. Just go new comment and then put your comment here, right? Or like I was saying before, I use them so much, I made it into my shortcuts. Made it into one of my shortcuts, I should say. Right? But, taking notes, right? Annotating, such a valuable skill. Okay, such a valuable skill. And really, I think if you don't do anything, maybe you can jot down, the author's main point in your own words. Okay. And you're asking yourself, right, what does this author want me to accept? What's the claim that's being made here? Okay. What's the claim that's being made here? All right. And then you could go further. All right, now what are my reasons for support? What are the reasons being given to support this claim? Okay. And then what evidence supports the reasons? Okay. And we also have to be mindful that when we write our own arguments, that's what our audience is going to be looking for, right? They're going to be looking for our main claim. They're going to be looking for our reasons. They're going to be looking for our evidence. Okay. So in a lot of ways, this is also, some things we can learn as writers, right? As well as thinkers here. Okay? And then this is just kind of what I've been saying. Just write up your notes, write down the key points of the text's main ideas. Oh, yeah. This is how you avoid your summary becoming just as long as the original. Okay, that was way too bright. All right, avoid minor details. All right, so the article or most of what you read, right, that makes a claim. And to quote the title of this textbook I used to use, everything's an argument, right? Everything's an argument. Okay. Meaning like writing, it's, no matter what the writing is, it's going to be used to persuade you to accept some idea. Okay. So again, what's the idea that the writer wants us to accept? So as you're thinking about ideas to include in your summary, you are going to have to discern whether this is a major point that I should include in my summary, or maybe this is a point that I can do without. Okay. Because you do want to leave something for your audience, if they read the article. And again, you don't just want to transfer the article verbatim, into your summary. All right. So write down the key points. So what all this means is when you're doing a summary response essay, your work starts before you even start writing the essay. All right. Because you're assessing main point. You're assessing reason. You're assessing evidence, or you're finding all those items. Okay. Now, okay. This is more how to put it together. Okay. All of these are going to be different. Okay. Like I want them to. I want them to be uniquely yours and unique to your own writing style. Okay. Even unique to the way you think. Right. One thing most English teachers do not like is when we kind of feel like students are saying what they think we want to hear. All right. Like I would rather I want to hear what you think. Like I want to hear your response. All right. But aside from that uniqueness, one of the elements that all your essays are going to have in common, very early, And when I say very early, it could be the first line. Actually, the first line is a great way to get it out of the way. Title, author. Okay, so begin with an introductory sentence that states the title and author of the text. You can't have a summary response essay or a summary if your reader doesn't know what you're summarizing. Okay, even if it's in the title, still the first line or within the first few lines of your essay, you should have the title and author. And if you want to take it a step further, you can even articulate the main point or the thesis statement, right? So you can begin something like this. In the article, how fake news breaks your brain, all right? And just a quick thing, a quick aside, article titles go in quotation marks, okay? Don't italicize, right? Don't italicize. Don't forget the quotation marks either, all right? So article titles go in quotation marks. So what do you italicize? Books, albums, the title. Like our article comes from National Geographic. So the title of the article would be in quotation marks, you know, why people latch on to conspiracy theories. But National Geographic would be italicized, all right? But for this essay, all you have to remember is the title of articles go in quotation marks, okay? In the article, how fake news breaks your brain, author Ben Pankow argues that information overload via social media and diminishing attention spans are responsible, should be is responsible, for the spread of fake news, right? So if we're going through our mental checklist and you're asking yourself, did I include the title and author? Check. Have I included the author's main point? Check. Okay. And again, try to get that out of the way early. All right. And then as you're writing your summary, try to include summarizing language. I have a short example here, but when we look over the student essay in a little bit here, I'll show you what I mean in action. All right, so include summarizing language. Periodically remind your reader that you're writing the summary with phrases like the author notes, the article claims, etc. I tell students not to etc. in their writing too, and I just did it. All right. Also, you wanna alternate pronouns and proper nouns, meaning like sometimes you want to say Pankow, and then sometimes you just want to refer to them as the author. Okay, he or she or them. All right, whatever. Okay. So practice using summarizing language. Summarizing language helps you distinguish your ideas from the authors, right? Because again, when you're doing a summary, all you're focused on is the author's ideas. That's it. Agree, disagree. That's not really a part of a summary, right? And then, okay, just because you're writing a summary, you still got to have body paragraphs, okay? So don't do your summary as one giant paragraph. Break it down. Break it down. You know, maybe each point you discuss has its own paragraph, right? Maybe you really want to explain the point thoroughly, so it takes you 2 paragraphs. That's fine. Okay. Just don't try to jam everything into one big paragraph, because it's like, you know, being in a long conversation with somebody that won't let you get a word in. All right. According to Pankow's research. Oh, yeah. Okay. So instead of starting this sentence with, people are more prone to spread popular stories on social media, okay, we want to let our readers know that this came from the article. According to Pankow's research, okay, people are more prone to spread popular stories on social media rather than quality fact-check articles. That's true, man. That's true.
You know, it's really weird because this is like exactly what I've argued against in writing my, not my summary, but the other thing. Like this is exactly what I built it on.
What? Social,
Just like the idea that like uh social media should be the one that has its voice kind of muted, other than taking away from citizens.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think like just in the people on this session, right? I'm sure many of us, if not all of us, have social media, but how much time do we spend fact checking, what we see on social media, like news stories and other I guess other items that pass themselves off as news, right? It's sometimes it's the headline that captivates us, right? Sometimes it's things that we may want to be true, right? Sometimes we just want views, okay? So I think, social media, it's all in good fun, right? But I do think that it can sometimes be dangerous because just the way that information spreads via social media. Okay. I think this is why, as people, we kind of have to be in a like a critical thinking mindset when we're, looking for like valid information. Now, if you're on social media, it's cool to laugh at funny memes and all that. Okay, that's one thing. But if you're like getting news from social media, fact check. Okay. When we start talking more about research, I will definitely give you some fact checking strategies. Okay. Sites like Snopes, factcheck.org, these are great sites. Okay. But even without those sites, there's other ways that you can do that work yourself to fact check. Okay. Fact checkers are kind of party poopers, right? So, man, why you gotta come here with all that evidence? Okay. According to Panko's research, people are more prone to spread popular stories on social media rather than quality fact-check articles. Okay. And then if I was to continue this paragraph, all right, so Panko, the author, makes this point, but then maybe the remainder of that paragraph, that summary paragraph, will talk about the example, that he uses. Or I would discuss some of the research, that Panko draws my attention to as a reader. All right. Cover all the author's key points. Key points, again, not the minor stuff, but the key points, right? The main things. What does the reader need to know? All right. Cover all the author's key points without including your own opinion. Okay. I know that's kind of a recurring theme or a recurring thing that I keep saying, but is that important? Don't put your opinion in the summary. Remain objective. And then do not include any information that's not present in the original. Like if you see some statistics or something or some other kind of data, right, in a summary, and that data does not sit right with you, and you go find some data to counter, what you found in the article, right? That's great that you did that work, that legwork, but those statistics or that research that you found, that does not go in your summary. Okay. So when you're summarizing, don't include any information that's not in the original. Okay. Don't put anything in your summary that's not in the source. Okay. As great as your ideas are, you may have the smoking gun to undo everything that is in the article. Fine. Put that in your response, though. Don't put it in your summary. Okay. Don't cross the streams, man. Right? You saw Ghostbusters, man. Like the OG Ghostbusters. Okay? I haven't seen the newer ones. All right. Now, we've put our summary together. Okay. It's thorough. It's shorter than the original. Right? It includes the author's key points. Right? It's in our own words because we kept quoting to a minimum or we didn't quote at all. Okay. We've broken it down into several paragraphs instead of one big, right? Now we're ready to move on with our response. Now, all those thoughts you were having, those opinions that you had, okay, those assessments, the evaluations, the critiques, right, the counter arguments, right? Now it's time for all that, okay? So when I say don't put your own ideas in a summary, it's not to invalidate your ideas or to say that they aren't important, because they are, right? They are. But again, we have to understand this source first before we can react to it, right? That's why we're doing the summary first, and then, we're responding, all right? So summarizing is a valuable skill. It is, man, it is. You're gonna have to summarize a lot, okay? But be careful not to confuse it with analyzing, all right? And sometimes I think, we kind of fall back on summarizing because, it's what we're used to, right? So in your own words, class, what is analysis? What does it mean to analyze something? What do you think? Don't even worry about what's on the screen. What do you think it means to analyze something? Yeah.
To look over information and form an opinion based on it, or form an understanding based on it.
Yeah. I like what you said first. Look it over. And then, right? So understand first and then, form your opinion. Okay. Also, sometimes analyzing is just knowing whether you're thinking or feeling. Okay. Both are valuable. Okay. Both are valuable. But sometimes, you can start off with a gut reaction to something, but before you commit that to paper, okay? So a gut reaction is you're starting off feeling. That point just rubbed me the wrong way. Okay. You're reading something, you're saying, that just rubbed me the wrong way. All right, take a step back. Why did it rub you the wrong way? Okay. Now you're thinking about it. Okay. And again, nothing wrong with feeling. Okay. As humans, we feel stuff. All right. And it's good to have a balance between what we think and what we feel. All right. Having a dialogue with the text. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Right. And that could be in the same article. You can agree with certain points and disagree with certain points. That's fine. That's going to help you build your response if you have this complex reaction to it. Right. So maybe as a whole, you didn't agree or disagree. It's just you agreed with parts of what was being said, but you also disagreed with parts of what's being said. And then you're going to offer your explanation about why you agreed or why you disagreed. Okay. But all that is part of this analytical process when we're thinking about, what we just read, right? What questions did you have? Or better yet, what questions were raised in the article, but they were not answered to your satisfaction? What parts moved you, right? When I say moved you, like what parts of it stirred something in you? Okay. Made you upset, right? Or validated something that you already believe. Okay. And then how does it relate to other texts you encounter? Okay. I don't think anybody in this class had me for academic literacy, but you talk about text to text connections, like comparing this to that, this reading to that reading. But here, we synthesize readings. So how does it relate to other texts you've encountered? Again, how does it relate to your experiences or what you already know? Okay. So analysis means going beyond the obvious and breaking down the text to see how the individual parts. Okay. Yeah. Writing a response requires your interpretation and reaction to a text. Okay, again, this is why we summarize first, because in order to get to that place where we can interpret and react, got to understand first. Okay. Now, right? Let your own perspectives, opinions, experience, and research. We don't need to do any research for this one, though, for our first. If you want to, you can, but you don't need to, right? But let all that guide your response. Okay? A good response shows what you think and why you think it. Meaning, if you agree or disagree with an author's claim, provide some sound reasoning as support. Okay. Just as the author, use an example to show their reasoning, use an example. Okay. When you're putting your response together, there's a couple things that you can use to sort of develop your response. Okay. First thing you can do that's not even up here. All right. Maybe you can respond to the way it's written. Right. Like you could agree with the ideas contained within the article or the ideas presented in the article, but maybe the style of writing, didn't sit well with you. Right. Maybe you agree in principle, but some of the examples being used, weren't satisfactory for you. Okay. Maybe you didn't like the language. Maybe you didn't like the tone. All right. Maybe you thought there was biases. But I do caution you against, or not necessarily against, but sometimes we use the word bias, too loosely, meaning that when we read something or we encounter something that doesn't align with our worldview, sometimes there's a tendency to think that that source is biased when it's not. Okay. It just means that it doesn't agree with your worldview. All right. Or another thing is sometimes as writers and as thinkers, or really just people in society, living as a collective, living together, sometimes we have to check our own biases. Is the writing biased, or is it my bias? Making me view everything through a certain lens. All right. And that's not to say that pieces of writing can't be biased, of course. All right. But I think like before we make that judgment, we should take ourselves through that battery of questions, meaning like, is this bias or is it my bias? That's interfering, with meaning here. Or do I think this was a bias because, it's not aligned with my pre-existing beliefs? Okay. But really, when we're thinking critically, we're taking all that into consideration. All right. So you can certainly respond to method, like how something is written. That's cool. All right. But I think you can also, and this could make up like a good part of your response, respond to what's said. What's this author saying? What's the main point? Examine an author's argument. Think about whether you agree or disagree. You may agree with parts of the argument and disagree with other parts. In your analysis, you might find that a writer instead of reader. A writer has failed to mention critical aspects of the argument. Okay. Watch for numbers. Numbers can be skewed. All right. So think about that. Maybe the author's forgetting something, or maybe intentionally leaving something out. Okay. And really that's going to come from you thinking critically. right? What's the writer's main claims? What is the writer's main claim? What reasons and evidence are being used? What parts of the argument do you agree or disagree? These are questions you're asking yourself as you prepare to write your response. What parts of the argument do you agree or disagree with? Is the writer overlooking important details? Is their evidence outdated? Is there any evidence? Is there enough evidence? Okay. Is the evidence from credible sources? Right? These are analytical questions, okay, that you can ask yourself. Okay. Now, okay, you can also just react to the ideas. What grabbed your attention? All right, that's good for your response. Okay. What grabbed your attention? Were your beliefs challenged in any way? Right? Or were they validated in some way? Okay. Has reading the text changed your perspective or made you more aware of an issue? Right? Did the text provoke an emotional reaction? How does the text align with your experiences? Okay, so Brianna, you were right the whole time about using experiences. Okay, all right. So how does the text how does the text align with your experiences? Okay, or maybe it doesn't at all. All right, but now, do you have to answer all these in your response? No, but if you're struggling with how to get started, or well, what should I say in my response? Okay, ask yourself some of these questions. Okay, ask yourself some of these questions. Okay, and then finally, all right, as thinkers, you know, you're free to agree or disagree with anything you hear or read. One thing about this class, I'm only going to give you a few articles to read, and the rest you're going to be finding for yourself. But if I give you something, don't feel obligated to agree with it just because it came from me. If I give you something, it doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. Okay. Some of the things that I'll show you are just like good talking points, right? Good for dialogue. All right. So they don't necessarily reflect, you know, my perspective on things. Okay. So you're free to agree or disagree with anything, but as we talked about Tuesday, you know, there's always that but why. Okay. Meaning like provide your reasons for agreeing or disagreeing, or both. Well, I agree with Panko's assertion that fake news is most likely to be spread via social media. However, he underestimates the power users have to control what they see in their feed. Okay. Yeah. A weirdly constructed sentence when you look at it. All right. So you can agree, disagree, just have reasons. Okay. That's really what this is about, like finding that why. And really, in order to do that, you have to be thinking through these issues, or at least the issue we're going to read about, but really for any issue. And again, that starts with understanding, and the understanding is the summary. All right. Now, okay. In the bottom of the week 2 module, okay, these were the slides we were just looking at. And then here is an example. The example is based on a different article. Okay, let's see if all right. So I'm just going to download it, but you can look at it on this. Again, you can open it within D2L. You know, if you got some time to kill. All right. I'm just going to download mine though. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. There you go. Okay. All right. Now, the first thing I want to draw your attention to with this article, or excuse me, with this, and again, this was written by a student. I took the name off just to make, just to make it anonymous. All right, as I do with stuff that I share with students. But the first thing I want you all to pay special attention to in this assignment is the formatting. Okay, don't take formatting for granted, right? And in this class, we're an MLA class, so when you're setting your paper up, okay, name, instructor name, class and date to the left, last name, page number to the right. Everything's double spaced. Times New Roman 12.5, even though this one's 11. All right, this student was trying to cram a lot, into these 2 pages. All right, so start off with formatting your paper properly. All right, and there's resources online, right? There's an MLA module on our D2L page. So just that's the no part of writing, no aspect of writing is easy, but formatting, it's just a matter of like looking at an example and making yours look like the example. Okay. Or if you've done this before, it's just about pulling it out of your own mind. Okay. And then with our formatting, there are no extra spaces skipped, no extra lines skipped. Okay. So I'll go, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it is on our D2L page. And I will just point out some of the characteristics that should be in your essay, even though, like I keep saying, everyone's essay is going to be different. There are also going to be some commonality. Okay. First one of those, what did I say before, right? Title, author should be early. In the article, if you had me for Comp 1 last semester, this might sound familiar. All right, in the article, want to make the lie seem true, say it again and again and again. The senior writer at Wired, Emily Dreyfus, argues that repetitive assertion can lead to the illusory truth effect. Okay, title what? Author, title, and main claim noted early. Okay, author, title, main claim, got it out of the way early. Okay. Welcome back, Aurelia. Okay, author, title, main claim, done. Now, the rest of this summary is just going to be this student noting the author's main ideas. The psyche considers repetition equivalent to the truth. This prejudiced thought is controlled by marketers and politicians whose manipulation is their focus. As an example, okay? Now, if we were to use summarizing language, or if I had a chance to coach this student one more time, I would just ask them to say something like an example Dreyfus uses, or the author uses this example, just to keep that summarizing language going. But this student used summarizing language pretty consistently. All right. And then as an example, I'm just going to read this real quick. The reiterated claim that Donald Trump is a, quote, great businessman, quote, meaning like it's from the article, might be against the evidence of the facts. Right. Okay. Another example. Okay. Dreyfus states. Right. And then the summary keeps going. Dreyfus emphasizes that commercial phrases bring out questions about the accuracy of products being used. As an illustration, okay? So he's using this author, the student is using summarizing language, right? While also drawing attention to the examples being used in the article. Okay. No opinions here, right? None of the students' thoughts are in this, are being shown quite yet. Okay. More summarizing language, as noted in the article. Okay. And if we look at like the way each paragraph begins, okay. And then another thing before I say that, notice how this is broken up into paragraphs. It's not like one giant paragraph. And the paragraphs are of different lengths, right? Paragraphs are of different lengths. And I say that because I don't want people to fall into a trap of thinking like a paragraph has a predetermined number of sentences, even though we may or may not have been taught that before, okay? There isn't really an ideal number of sentences for a paragraph, all right? But a paragraph should be unified about one idea, should be coherent. The ideas or the sentences should flow smoothly into one another, and the connection between the ideas should be clear, and it should be developed, okay? Development means it answers the question, what does my reader need to know? Okay? Or if you don't want to remember all that, when you start discussing a new point, start a new paragraph. Or if you want to give your reader a moment to pause and reflect, start a new paragraph, okay? I just want to go back up to this first paragraph real quick though, and look at some of the specifics. Okay. This student, you know, like highlights the examples the author uses, highlights the research that the author uses, right? So when you're summarizing, just noting the research being included in the article, again, that lends to your understanding. Okay. Lynn Hasher, psychologist at the University of Toronto, states that repetitions can help people. Okay. Psychologist at the University of Toronto, right? That's from the article as well. Okay. Now, Dreyfus emphasizes, as noted in the article, according to psychologists at Vanderbilt University, all right, again, right? Dreyfus suggests, okay, and then this one just ended with a quote. This is actually from the article. This is how the article ended, right? So it's in quotation marks, okay? Now, we look at this summary. I know you guys haven't seen the article, but this summary, you know, is much shorter than the article, but it's still very thorough, all right? From the way it begins, you know, just through the consistent mention of like how the author supports the claims being made. There's good use of summarizing language, all right? And then there's no opinions, or none of the writer's opinions in this summary, okay? So, you know, I keep saying that everybody's is going to be different, but those are some of the commonalities, you know, that we should have across the board, okay? Title and author should be mentioned in every summary response or in every summary, okay? The author's main claim should be mentioned in every summary, right? The reasons, the important reasons, okay? Again, we're not focusing on minor detail, but the important reasons or the important points, main points should be mentioned, okay? And then, you know, the evidence, right? The evidence. Now, you don't have to do this in your paper. Like this student just labeled each section. You don't have to do this, but it's fine if you want to for this assignment. Especially if you just want to go like to take that extra step in separating your response from the summary. Okay. But really, your reader should be able to tell that you've transitioned into responding. But if you want to label each section, you can. I'm okay with that. All right. But you don't need to do bold print or anything like that. Don't make it fancy. Okay. Now, look at the way this response begins. And I don't remember exactly who it was, but someone asked me Tuesday, how to respond. I mean, how to begin the response. Emily Dreyfus is surely right about claiming that repetitive statements can lead to illusory truth. Okay, that's a good way to begin. Emily Dreyfus is right, or Emily Dreyfus is wrong. However you want, however you see it. Okay. And want to make a lie seem true, the author emphasized how spreading untruths controls popular opinion as a new weapon in the information war. Like Dreyfus, I agree. Okay, so again, just to take us back to those slides, we're thinking about what we agree and what we disagree with. Okay. Now, let's look at some of this student's reasoning. Okay. Disbelief in science supported by false news has raised mistrust in scientific health protocols, endangering the confidence of the population in scientific evidence. Okay, that was kind of a mouthful. All right, but okay, we got I agree, and then we have this statement here. Now, this is what your job is, or part of what your job is in your response. This student put this statement out here, right? But then they followed it up with an example. Okay, followed it up with an example. In these pandemic times, okay, I just like that phrase, in these pandemic times, okay, as an illustration, okay, and then we see words like this in the bottom, or excuse me, later in the essay. For example, right? So it's this student is saying, why they agree, but then they're following it up with some examples and with some reasoning. Okay. And that's what you have to do. You can't just say I agree or I disagree. Okay. That's the start of that conversation, or that's the start of your reaction. Now explain your rationale, follow it up with an example. Okay. Okay, another statement here. Another, for example. Okay. I think this student may have been Brazilian. I can't remember. All right. I had a couple students, a couple Brazilian students. Okay, and then it just concludes, right, with some final thoughts. Okay. Going directly to credible news websites is the best choice to avoid confusion and misinformation. Yeah. Okay. And then I think being able to recognize credible news websites is also, to your best interest. Okay. And then the works cited page, right? With the, all right. Anybody familiar with this? If you had me from Comp 1, you probably know Scribr. Right. I'll show you why I like Scribr. All right. This isn't our article, but I'm just going to click it. Actually, no, I'll use our article because it's right here. All right. I'm going to copy the title. All right. And I'm going website. Paste it here. Bam, this is us. Okay. And now you just go here, make sure everything's filled in the way it needs to be filled in. And then you go site source. And that's your works cited entry. Just paste this on your works cited page. I already formatted for you. Okay. I already formatted for you. So I really do like Scribbr. I know there's a lot of other citation generators out there. And of course, you know, if you want to know how to do it the old school way, there's tutorials for that as well. But I think like, you know, I encourage people to use, you know, one of these citation generators. Okay. Even have the hanging indent. All right. When we get more into research, you know, I'll show you a few more of these, but Scribbr is my go-to right now. Okay. Now, okay. That example is right here. Okay. It's not perfect. Okay. No piece of writing is. Okay. But I think that essay, that summary response essay was one of the successful ones, you know, from that batch. All right. Now, for Tuesday's class. Okay. Once I get this class uploaded to our site, once I get the recording uploaded, I'll also post an update just reinforcing this stuff. But the first summary response essay is due Tuesday. Okay. If you're having issues with it, don't wait until Tuesday to let me know that you're having issues. That's a bit late in the game. All right. I'm happy to help, but like the closer we get to the deadline, the fewer options we have. Right. So if you have questions, you know, just shoot them to me by email. Okay. Other than that, you know, have at it, folks. All right. Any questions for me before we call it?
I'll see you later. Have a brilliant day and a brilliant weekend.
I will do both. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Trevor. All right.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
Anybody else got any questions, thoughts, comments? Okay.
No, Professor, I'm glad you went over all the material with me. Now I'm ready to do it.
Okay, you get a free A for the semester, man. No.
Okay.
So you glad I went over the material? Okay. It's good to feel appreciated.
Thanks okay. For the A. So I'll get started Saturday.
All right.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, folks. So now the final thing I want to leave you with is to do your best on this assignment, but I also understand that it is our first summary response. And for many of us, it might be the first time we're actually doing this. So I would say to that, one, you know, don't pressure yourself, and two, trust your voice. Okay, trust your voice. All right. So this being my last class of the week, man, I'm so happy. Even though I got a couple meetings tomorrow. Like we have meetings on Fridays.